on the long-awaited day of my son's wedding,"
Fake parents should leave.
he said, and then proceeded to pour beer on me. I couldn't immediately comprehend what was happening. However, my son continued to hurl hurtful words, and gradually, my heart closed off. Well, whatever. I shook off my husband's attempt to hold me back and left the venue. My son watched me comply without resistance, wearing a satisfied expression. Little did he know that a tremendous tragedy was about to befall him. My stepson Henry, whom I raised as my own, has no biological connection to me. My husband Dan had lost his previous wife to illness, leaving him to raise 5-year-old Henry alone. We met 20 years ago when I was 35, and we married. While supporting my husband's business, I lovingly raised Henry as if he were my own child. Over time, he grew fond of me, and I fulfilled my parental duties until he reached adulthood. After graduating from college, Henry started working at his father's company. It was about 2 years into his professional life when he brought a woman home, saying,
"I want to marry her."
Her name was Lily, and she was lovely and charming. Both my husband and I were fully supportive of their marriage. We chatted happily, and the atmosphere was pleasant as we exchanged greetings. However, that evening, Henry sat before us with a serious expression.
"Actually, I need some assistance for our wedding."
Financial help? Well, we were planning to give a gift, but is it not enough?
We want to have a grand wedding with many friends, and we're considering an overseas honeymoon. But we don't have any savings.
What? You have no savings? I've been telling you to save diligently all along. Indeed, my son often went out drinking, and I had noticed his expensive hobbies like watches and cars. Although I refrained from commenting on what he did with his own earnings, this time, I couldn't help but be astonished by his lack of planning.
If you don't have money, shouldn't you consider a small family-only wedding or a domestic trip? Choose a plan that suits you.
My husband's words made sense, and I nodded in agreement.
But we've already visited various wedding venues, discussed travel plans with her, and it's too late to back out now. Dad, please.
Seeing my son's teary expression, I recalled the family trip Henry had thoughtfully planned for our 20th anniversary. He put so much effort into it even though he didn't have much money. Regretting that I had taken it for granted because it was a local trip, I decided to extend a helping hand. Maybe we should consider providing financial assistance? After all, marriage is a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Mom.
Well, if you say so. Henry, now that you're starting a family, make sure to save properly.
Of course. Thanks, Dad.
After my persuasion, my husband agreed to assist our son. Although I thought I might be indulging him a bit, I wanted to send off our dear son into married life with a positive feeling. Finally, on the long-awaited wedding day, my husband and I were busy greeting guests who were relaxing with welcome drinks before the ceremony. We returned to the family waiting room during a brief lull, but due to the tension, I was already exhausted even before the wedding began. It turns out the groom's parents have quite a lot to do.
Indeed. We can finally take a breather.
As my husband and I caught our breath, our son, dressed in a tuxedo, appeared with a beer bottle in hand. His hair was neatly styled, but he seemed to have already consumed quite a bit of alcohol. His face was flushed, and his collar was loosened, exuding a cheerful vibe.
What? Henry, are you already drinking?
I had the staff bring it earlier. It's a special day, so we can't celebrate without a drink, right?
Hey, even though you're the main character, is it okay for you to be like this now?
Soothingly, my son replied,
It's fine.
as he handed a glass to my husband and poured beer, exchanging cheerful words. He still has those unreliable, childlike moments, but seeing him like this, he's grown up. Taller than Dan and confidently wearing his tuxedo, my son reminded me of the little boy from the past. As I watched my son and husband from a slightly distant spot with a happy heart, Henry suddenly turned his gaze toward me and approached. About to express my heartfelt congratulations once again, I began, "Congratulations, truly." But at that moment, something unbelievable happened. Smiling warmly, my son held a beer bottle above my head. Then, without warning, he turned it upside down, drenching me from the top of my head with beer. The liquid dripped down, making a splashing sound, and the scent of alcohol hung in the air. It was so sudden that both my husband and I were left stunned. After a while, I finally raised my head and looked at Henry, utterly bewildered.
Now you won't be able to attend the wedding.
With a smug expression, he continued,
Until now, I pretended to play parent-child with you because I thought I needed a housekeeper to take care of things around me.
"What? Wait, a housekeeper? What are you talking about?"
Despite being unemployed, you ingratiated yourself with Dad, lived off his money, and called yourself a full-time housewife. But I've never considered you my mother.
Caught off guard by my son's sudden change, I struggled to comprehend. "I've poured genuine affection into you, believing I was your real parent. And yet..."
Enough. From now on, Lily will take care of things as my housekeeper. You're not needed. As a fake parent, you won't participate in the wedding. Outsiders can leave.
I had raised Henry with love, trying not to make him feel lonely after losing his biological mother. But my one-sided efforts were met with disdain behind the scenes. Hearing Henry's true feelings and facing his verbal attack left me in shock.
What kind of words are you saying to your mom?
Even Dan, who had heard our son's outburst, rushed over, grabbing Henry's collar and shouting at him. Yet Henry remained unfazed. My son declared arrogantly,
Dad, you're also at fault. You got fooled by a low-level woman and married her. But I won't be as lenient as you. Once I'm married, I'll be strict with my wife.
As Henry continued to berate my husband in a dismissive tone, I stared at him in disbelief. Watching him stubbornly assert his selfish views, anger began to bubble up within me. Well, whatever. Memories and my affection for Henry suddenly seemed inconsequential. I stepped in to stop Dan, who was confronting our son. Understood. As an outsider, I'll leave.
Finally realized your place, huh? Just go already.
With a satisfied expression, my son left the waiting room, laughing. But my husband remained dissatisfied, trembling with anger.
Is it okay to just comply? Maybe I should give him a good punch. I won't be satisfied otherwise.
Well, there's one thing we need to do before I leave. I confided in my husband about my plan and informed the venue staff before departing. An hour later, when I arrived home, I removed my stained dress and took a shower. My husband called out.
Hey, take a look at this.
I noticed that both my phone and Dan's phone had an incredible number of missed calls, all from Henry. Just as I was contemplating this, the phone started ringing again, and I reluctantly answered. Hello, what do you want?
Finally picked up. Just come back quickly.
His tone was different from his attitude in the waiting room. He seemed quite anxious. But earlier, you told me to leave.
Yeah, but, for some reason, The venue suddenly announced that the wedding is cancelled. Lily and her parents are furious.
Oh, why? Well, you see. I proceeded to explain the situation to Henry. Afterward, Dan and I returned to the venue together. When we arrived, the celebratory atmosphere from earlier had completely vanished. Guests, informed of the sudden cancellation, were dispersing with discontented expressions. Against the flow of guests, we entered the venue, where Henry was surrounded by Lily and her parents, receiving their reproachful words. Upon seeing my husband and me arrive, Henry pushed through the crowd and hurriedly approached my husband. In a hushed voice, he confronted my husband, trying to keep it from Lily and her parents.
Why did you say you wouldn't pay for the venue? You promised.
You've got it all wrong. It's not me who pays, it's Mary. But after the way you treated her, there's no way she'll cover the expenses.
Wait, what do you mean?
Henry looked bewildered by my husband's words and glanced at me. The truth was, the company Dan now runs was originally founded by me. When Dan and I got married, he was an employee in my company, and I worked as the CEO. However, I felt concerned that Henry, Dan's son, wasn't opening up to me. Wanting to fully engage with my new family, I made the bold decision to step down as CEO, become a full-time homemaker, and prioritize communication with my son. Initially, I felt left behind by society and wrestled with doubts. But as Henry gradually showed more affection and dependence, I believed my choice was right. At the time, he was still quite young and didn't remember when his father took over as CEO. Hence, he mistakenly thought that his unemployed stepmother had married into the company.
The reason we have money now is that Mary founded the current company.
Huh? But that's ancient history, right? The current CEO is Dad.
No, the crucial decisions are still made by Mary. She's essentially like a business leader.
But
Henry was left speechless by Dan's words. In reality, even after Dan took over as CEO, my name remained associated with the company, and I served as an advisor to him. If you thought of me as a housekeeper, then I have no obligation to provide money for you.
damn it! Shut up!
When I pushed back, Henry erupted in anger.
It's unfair now. The wedding is ruined, and there are cancellation fees. We've already booked the honeymoon. You'll pay as promised.
With a flushed face, Henry confronted me, but just then, Lily, having heard the shouting, approached.
Hold on. What's going on? You were bragging about paying for everything yourself.
Well, that's...
Wait, were you planning to make your parents pay for everything? You're too old for that. How low?
It seemed that despite asking us for financial assistance, our son had been trying to impress Lily by pretending to have money. By the way, you said you had no savings, and you mentioned that once you're married, Lily would be like a housekeeper taking care of things, right?
Huh? We're both working, so we agreed to share household chores, didn't we? What's going on?
Henry stumbled over his words, further berated by Lily.
We allowed this marriage because we heard you were the future CEO. But it seems your relationship with your parents isn't great. Are you really okay?
Lily's parents, who had observed the exchange, joined in, confronting our son.
Well, yes, I'm perfectly fine.
I never intended for our son to be the successor. Besides, I've never even discussed that with Henry.
Wait, am I not going to be the next CEO?
No way. The company was originally Mary's, and nowadays, not all businesses are family-run. We'll entrust it to someone more capable than you, who struggles with work.
But,
Henry had mistakenly assumed he would inherit the company and had been spreading this false narrative. Now, his web of lies was unraveling. Furious, Lily declared.
I need to reconsider this marriage.
With her parents, she left abruptly. Despite Henry's tearful pleas, Lily never looked back.
I'm cutting ties with you as my son. I can't forgive how you treated Mary. And of course, you're fired from the company.
Upon hearing Dan's words, Henry turned pale, trembling and sweating. He clung to me, sobbing.
it's all my fault. I apologize. Mom, you won't abandon me, right? We're still family, aren't we?
Family, you're saying that? It's too late for apologies. I'm just a housekeeper without any blood ties. Henry, tearful before me, no longer resembled the beloved son I once knew. I pushed him away, saying, I have no obligation to you. Alongside my husband, we left the scene. Later, Lily apparently called off the engagement with our son. All that remained for him were the cancellation fees of $12,000 for the venue and honeymoon. With no savings, Henry borrowed money to repay it and now works day labor jobs to make ends meet. Unfortunately, rumors about our son spread among the wedding guests, and he lost not only family and his fiancée but also friends. He now lives in loneliness. As for me, I had planned to return to work once our son left the nest. Now, I'm back at the company, working diligently alongside Dan. I find fulfillment in my busy yet enjoyable days as the CEO, while Dan serves as vice president.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time in the next video.